Tonight, on Legislative Review. The Senate debates a House bill concerning child custody. Plus, a controversial B&O tax proposal on large businesses. And the Senate passes a House bill on animal cruelty. From Olympia, this is Legislative Review. Welcome to Legislative Review, your source for daily highlights in the state legislature. I'm Angela Nolasco.
Gross Substitute House Bill 1620. The Secretary will read.
A House bill debated on the Senate floor Wednesday afternoon could potentially reshape how courts handle child custody and parenting plans. House Bill 1620, which passed last month on an 86-7 vote, concerns limitations in parenting plans in cases involving abuse and sexual offenses. The bill aims to protect children from a parent with a history of abuse, domestic violence, or certain criminal convictions by establishing clear guidelines for judges when deciding on residential time, decision-making authority, and dispute resolution between parents. The bill would also limit parents with severe offenses, like sexual abuse or violent acts against a child, from having unsupervised contact with their children if there's clear evidence that it would put the child at risk. In this case, contact would be prohibited. In cases where a parent might reside with someone convicted of these offenses, the courts may also restrict contact to situations where that individual isn't present. Supporters say that current laws don't always do enough to protect children from abuse, and that the bill will ensure that judges have trauma-informed training. Critics, however, argue that it will only pose delays and cause confusion, and would negatively impact rural communities. During the bill's final passage, Democratic Senator Manka Dhingra spoke in support of the bill.
There have been horrible consequences and terrible tragedies when our judicial system does not understand domestic violence, sexual assault, substance use disorder issues. It makes sure that we are aligning our statute so that survivor who does not have access to an attorney can actually navigate the legal system. It makes sure that we are being trauma-informed and that we are putting guardrails on judicial discretion.
Citing one of his proposed amendments that failed during the debate, Republican Senator Phil Fortunato believes the bill does not go far enough to ensure judges receive enough training on trauma and abuse to make decisions on child custody.
Repeated cases where a woman is strangled and has a traumatic brain injury, and the court awards the children to the person that committed this atrocity? What the heck are they thinking, Mr. President? And these are the people that we, in my amendment, the Keynes Law Amendment, we want to educate those judges on recognizing this behavior. Why is it so controversial to get $350,000 for 4 years to educate our judges on how to perceive this?
The Senate voted on House Bill 1620.
Mr. President, there are 32 ayes, 17 nay.
Having received a constitutional majority and gross substitute House Bill 1620 as amended by the Senate is declared passed. The title of the bill will be the title of the act.
It heads back to the House for further deliberation. Members of the House Finance Committee heard a bill Thursday that seeks to increase funding for Washington families by restructuring the business and occupation, or B&O tax. House Bill 2045, a measure that would raise taxes on high-grossing businesses and financial institutions, aims to address income inequality and boost funding for public services statewide. The bill would add a 1% tax on businesses that go over an annual income threshold of $250 million. This tax would be added to their current B&O tax that they pay on their gross receipts. Designed for larger, more profitable businesses, the bill exempts smaller enterprises and manufacturing income, so businesses that produce goods won't face the additional tax. If enacted, the B&O tax for financial institutions will also rise to 1.9% on their taxable income, an increase from the current 1.2%. Financial institutions have been singled out because of their high profits, with advocates saying they should shoulder more of the tax burden to support the state's needs. House Majority Leader Joe Fitzgibbon is the bill's prime sponsor.
We know that these businesses benefit from us having quality public schools, colleges and universities, a social safety net, nursing homes for the elderly, public safety, transportation. None of those businesses would be able to succeed in Washington if we did not have all of those things, particularly a well-educated workforce.
Supporters claim it will ensure that high-grossing companies contribute their fair share and that additional funds will go to the state's education system, healthcare, and other vital public services for Washington's families. Emma Scalzo of advocacy group Balancer Tax Code.
This B&O tax is a common-sense solution to ensure those who benefit the most from Washington's economy contribute proportionally to the system that makes their success possible. Our state tax code right now is unsustainable, inequitable, and doesn't work for everyone, but mostly the wealthy few. Right now, our tax code asks the most from those who have the least, while ultra-wealthy and the biggest corporations with large exemptions contribute far less.
However, critics from business, healthcare, and banking groups say the extra cost from the tax will be passed on to consumers, and that the tax will discourage investment and drive large companies out of the state, harming job growth and economic stability. They argue that Washington should focus on reforming existing tax policies rather than imposing additional burdens on businesses that already contribute to the state's economy. Glenn Simicek of the Washington Bankers Association.
This proposal would increase that 1.2% surcharge by an additional 0.7%, making it 3.65%. That would be the highest B&O tax charge in Washington state, higher even than radioactive nuclear waste. That sends a clear public policy message to banks, to their clients, to their housing partners in our state, and frankly, it's going to make it even more challenging to do business here.
The proposed measure is part of House Democrats' tax package, a move to narrow Washington's $16 billion budget deficit, projected to raise $13 billion over 4 years. State senators debated several bills on the floor Thursday, among them House Bill 1149, which seeks to expand penalties around the mistreatment of animals. Under the bill, if someone is found to be involved in animal fighting, neglect, or abuse, they'll face harsh consequences, including a ban from owning animals. The House passed the bill on a unanimous vote in February. Speaking in favor, Democratic Senator Manka Dhingra.
It also adds other things to make sure we're protecting our animals from starvation, making sure they get appropriate medical care, and making sure that their sanitation conditions are humane.
Also speaking to support the bill, Republican Senator Jeff Hawley.
This bill appears to have widespread support coming out unanimous from the other side. I'm going to urge support here.
After adopting 2 amendments, the Senate took a floor vote.
Mr. President, there are 47 aye, 1 nay, 1 excused.
Having received a constitutional majority and gross substitute House Bill 1149 as amended by the Senate is declared passed. The title of the bill will be the title of the act.
It now heads back to the House for further review. That's it for today's highlights on the state legislature. Stay up to date by watching Legislative Review every night at 8 and 11 p.m. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll see you then.